Hello again, YouTube. Okay, two videos in one go, pretty much. Just had the time. I thought I'd give it a whirl. So this is the other thing that I've painted up today. Well, done most of the detail painting on. This is Tyranid Malanthrope. It's a Forgeworld model, so it's a good old resin kit. And I got it through from Forgeworld in very, very good nick. Hardly any mould lines. Yeah, really well cast, not warped, nothing at all. The only issue I had with it was entirely down to myself. So when I was putting bits together, you won't be able to see it at all, I don't think, on this particular video. Oh wait, yes you can. This part just here, I dropped because I'm a genius. The model, when I was priming it originally, and it cracked that little bit off there. Couldn't find the bit wherever it flew off to, and working to a bit of a deadline, I never did get around to filling it with green stuff. So I have a holy Malanthrope. It's religious. A little bit of a hole in the back plate, but you know what? It'll survive. So the Malanthrope itself, it's a HQ choice for a Tyranid army. It's basically a glorified Venomthrope. So it's lovely and covered in all these little sacks of, as it's described in the fluff, various poisonous gases that let it float along the battlefield, where it's got its feeder tendrils and all these tendrils coming down the back here. And the background story of them is they sort of float along behind a Tyranid swarm, sort of, you know, in the middle towards the back end, and they just pick up what's left over. The Malanthrope's in charge of sort of digesting the world and sorting through all the biomass to see if there's anything particularly interesting that the hive can use. In terms of a creature, 2-up save, invulnerable because it has warp field, psychic ability. It's about 150 points worth, and it also no real shooting, but if it gets into close combat, one of its special abilities is anaphylactic shock. Basically so poisonous, all wounds unsaved by the Malanthrope cause instant death, unless you're fighting someone like Mephiston with his Eternal Warrior rule, in which case it's just a wound. But it's an absolutely beautiful model, and I've wanted this, was one of the models I've wanted since I first got into Tyranids. I'm ashamed to say I have done this in one day, taking it from its bleach bone sprayed base coat right the way through to what you see in front of you now. Originally I planned to spend at the very least about 3 days working on this model, but as some of you know, there's the big Apocalypse game tomorrow. For those of you that don't know, Templars Crusader 1 has been working us all like slaves to get armies ready, because tomorrow there is more or less 50 to 60k of Imperials versus, on one side, 40k of Nids, and behind them 20k of Chaos. So it's going to be a big old game taking up most of his house. And I had this model in 3 pieces. I had the base and the bottom half of the tail section. I had the body across there, and the head separate, because the way I prefer to paint things in pieces so that I can get into various nooks and crannies, and all under here would have been a bit of an issue to get to if it was all assembled in one piece. But this is my Tyranid Malanthrope. Bleach bone spray, light, very light. I say bleach bone, it's the bone spray from Army Painter. It's in a can, it's not through a spray gun. Absolutely glorious stuff though, goes on wonderfully first time. So sprayed the bone colour, then lightly dry brushed with a white, Leviathan purple into the recesses, and in this one I actually washed down some Warlock purple, which I then applied rather liberally, and that's a very bright light, I don't know if that's going to bleach it out too much, across all of the sacks here and down the tendrils, and you can see a bit of it if I just get the light out of it, darken it down a bit, you can see it on the tail there. And I've also highlighted some veins underneath with scorpion green. Went with a green, Thacker green wash over the sacks, and then Land and Dark Sun with the Thraka green wash on the tentacles and the tendrils at the back here, because it's supposed to be poisonous, and the first thing that sprang into my mind, poison, is green. I'm not too sure that I like the green. I'm beginning to wish I'd have gone with a blue wash instead of green, but that's the great thing about these things, I can always repaint them. But this is my Tyranid Malanthrope, and as I did earlier to give it a size comparison, because it's rules you can find in either the Imperial Armour for the Anthelium project, or in, I believe it is Imperial Armour Apocalypse, the book. It's a lovely big model, and if I whack my good old size comparison Morlock next to him, blooming huge. And for those of you that are more familiar with standard sort of troops and models, let's lean out the way. That's my Night Lord next to the Malanthrope. Night Lord would probably still kick its ass, but you know, it's cool. Anyway, that's for the game tomorrow, and that's 2 videos in one night. Have fun, YouTube, stay safe, and I'll talk to you again soon.